Okay, we'll get started. So yesterday we seen, right? We started creating a database project, and I was having some unexpected results. Actually, the database itself was not available. I deleted those databases long time. So probably it was in metadata, and it was started showing. And but we did not continue because it may take time. That's why I did not continue. Now we will see. Okay. So before that, let me go to my portal.azure.com. The reason I'm connecting to my SQL database, Azure SQL database from my laptop, right? My laptop gets a dynamic IP, right? Every time I restart, I will get a new IP. And this SQL database on the Azure, right? And I did not make it public. I made it private, and only allowed IP addresses are able to connect to your SQL database. If I directly start my Visual Studio, the database project, it will try to connect to the Azure SQL database. It will fail because my IP address got changed. Okay. So for that, what I do, first I will go and add my IP address to the firewall settings of my. I'm just teaching some more for your benefit. I have a selfishness here as well because if I open Visual Studio, it keep on trying to connect your Azure SQL, then my Visual Studio will be unresponsive. Again, I may have to restart my Visual Studio and restart my laptop, which is unnecessary time spent. So now what I do, I have these databases, right? These are the things what I created. First, let me go and add my IP address to this Azure SQL so that my laptop will be able to connect to this one. It's very simple. Go to set server firewall, and I already have two IP addresses connected. These are yesterday's one. Let's go and add a client IP. That's it. You see, it is a different, right? Or is it the same? Then cool. Then it's not changed. Probably. Let me see. Okay, let it be like that. It is not changed. That is. It should be changing. I don't know, maybe I did not restart my laptop or whatever it is. No, because this is connected to modem, right? Or if you check the IP address, it will always be one IP address. But if you are connected to your AD or something, then that will be from the DS, not from DS. So it looks same. Yes. But you see the different IP 192 or something, right? Since Azure is having capability to go and check the internal flux of your OS and get the action. If I go and say IP config, right, it will show me 192.0.0.1 something which is your modem. Okay. So let me go and open my Visual Studio, and we were talking about database now. So our .NET DevOps demo, right? Let's open it. Since it is loading, it will try to connect to the database. Take some time. I'll just leave it. Yeah, it started. Okay. So let's do finish. Everything is ready, right? I don't want to click it. That's why it is taking time. So it is now connected to my dev database because this is the source database, right? Okay. And then let's go and refresh it.
Why you have given 3 IP addresses over there in the firewall settings?
Now both the databases are empty, so obviously it will not show any scripts for it, but it may show some metadata scripts like there are some predefined roles, right? Roles and user IDs. it will show that. So one tip here, when you are using this tree website, uh, be little patient because it may give you an impression that it's not doing anything. So give a couple of seconds so that it kickstart with your its process. So while it is doing it, let me open my SQL Server Management Studio and let me connect to those database. Okay. So as I told you, I can work with the database from the SQL Server Management Studio or from the Visual Studio as well, because it is just a UI. The UI is embedded in all the processes. So there is no difference the way you work. It looks exactly the same. But that is happening, some background task is happening. I will go to my dev database and I will try to create a couple of tables. Okay. Let me connect to, it's a, no, it's not that one, right? My server is Azure DemoDB Pune, right? Let me take this server name, copy it, go back and then use it. Make it SQL Server Authentication, and then the user ID. Sorry. Still going on. It's okay. Let me go to our databases. So I have a dev database and the QA database, right? Let me go on the way we created a table yesterday. Let's create some. I have so many softwares running, so let's give ID, then teachers. That's it. Let me save it. Done. We refresh it. Okay, my sample table is being created here, and if I open my QA database, there is nothing because these are starting from scratch. Is it done? So there are no tables in my QA. Only in the dev database, I have only one table. And sometimes it takes some. Let me cancel it and do it. Cancel also takes. So what it does now, it compares. It is comparing the changes. It is looking for the changes. Okay, it will compare both your dev database and the, and it finds the differences, and a new table is available, and it creates a script only for that, and it will be available in your SQL Server database wallet what we create, and we use that as part of our build pipeline and as well as release. In the build pipeline, it will the scripts in the required form will be created. The release pipeline, that script whatever is created from the build pipeline will be deployed to the target. Okay. Okay, right now it is done, but we just created the table, right? Right now you see there are no objects. These are 23 objects are related to your roles. I mean, when you create a database, by default, you create a number of system roles, basically. That's all about this. Let me drop down. So yesterday we were seeing some errors, right? Those were from the history. I don't know why it came, even those databases were not existing. Okay, now you see only the database objects which are related to your DB roles, etc., which are built in. Now I'll go and refresh because just now I created a table. Let's go and refresh it. Now it should give me a tables. So when you're using a paid version and you are using a paid version under Azure as well, it will be very good. And also this is our internet. Internet.
Yeah,
will be with,
have you connected to this SSMS?
Okay. You see the table is been identified now because this is the table that is not there in QA but is there in your dev table. Now you see all this add to project. It is saying add to project. Pending things basically, and this is a create table. Okay, now what I have to do, now I identify the changes, just go and click on import and generate script. Okay, so it is generating the migration script which can be readily used to get executed in a different environment. So I have 7 days remaining. What I do on Monday or Tuesday, I will close the release pipeline for this database project. So that, and then I will continue with the. Okay, then see in the background, of course, let's not minimize this. In the background, the script is already created. You see that, right? Now what I do, it is telling me a migration generated, a new script has been added to the project, which is our project, database project, and it is under the folder migrations. There is a folder migrations. Under that, it automatically created a script, .sql script with some naming. Okay, and this is all automated. You don't need to worry. Okay, now what you need to do? Now you generated a script, right? And the whole intention of this automatic generation is to use this script and deploy it in the target database. For that, what if you are doing it manually, what you do? You will take the script and some DBA developer will open the script and manually check, right? The tables are there, and you have the statements called use database name, right? That is correct. All those things will be manually verified after the scripts are generated, right? So that's a manual one. Even in the automation, it has to be done because there is no exception for that one. That's why there will be another step where you have to say refresh and verify. When you say refresh and verify, right? What it will do? It will, your database project will go and analyze the script generated against your target database. It will ensure that it will be able to successfully run the script in the target. So you will not have any surprises when you run this script from your release pipeline. Okay, let's go on. I'm telling all the things that happens in the background. Now, once this is done, you are good at it. Then we can go to the folders and see what are all the different things it creates.
So yeah, did we connect this SQL change automation to SSMS or not?
Whenever this file is created, right, in the background, never close this window. You have to do the. Okay. Now done actually. There is a now this is in the green. That means the process is completed. Okay, the verification is also completed. Now you can happily close this. Now go to your solution explorer. This is our database DevOps project we created, and you see there is a folder under migrations. There is a file under migrations folder. Let's open it. So this is the table that's been created in the Dev database. This can be deployed in the target database. And then let's close this. After that, you also see some post deployment scripts and then pre-deployment scripts. Let us say, as part of your deployment, if there are any pre and post configurations, you can keep them in these folders. Okay, but you do not make any changes in the file under the migration folder, because that gets generated automatically based on your database. But these post and pre-deployment is your customization code. You want to send some notifications, or you want to include some data, whatever it is, you can do in the pre and post deployment scripts. And this is what you see regularly as well. And the other one, you have the schema model. You see, this is the DBO schema that is there in your database, right? It has a copy of your database schema, which is on the database engine in this database project area. We told you that we need to version it. If you don't have a copy of your actual database schema in your database project, that means you are not versioning. So what it does, this database project, since it is already connecting and verifying, it also maintains a copy of its database schema in your database project. So it will be reused whenever you do this refresh and import and download scripts, etc. So you also have a copy of your source schema. So this is how your database projects are able to maintain versioning of your database scripts, and also able to generate differential scripts. Means right now I have one table. Now what I do, I'll go and execute them as part of my Redis pipeline. This table will be created in the target database. So and then we start the next sprint. Then probably now you go and add another 10 tables. So in the sprint 2, you have to execute all those 10 tables scripts in the target environment. When you run this database project, next time what happens? It will not generate those 11 tables. It will only generate the scripts only for those 10 tables, because it knows the history, differential scripts. So that's the advantage, and this is a version. So there is no manual. Okay. Now what I do for the time being, I will just check in this code and go to the build pipeline. As of now, this is not checked in. You see, everything is a plus symbol, right? Now let's go and check in the entire solution, because I have not made any changes to any other project. Only this project is being added. Okay, let's check in or push your code. Database, DevOps,
Purnachandra, I have one question.
And then say commit all and push.
Purnachandra? Hello?
What it is? Failed to pushes to this branch are not permitted. Probably I need some branch policies somewhere. Let me go back, go to my DevOps. It is saying I'm not allowed to push my code because of some branch policy. Okay. So how I can do changes? I can go to organize. Sorry, let's go to the its project level. Let's go to the project .NET DevOps demo, and then project settings, and then this is related to the repositories. Let's go and go to the repositories and check it, all the policies, options, and then I'm pushing it to the master, right? Let me delete these things. I don't want any of these things. I'm only working with the master. Okay. In the master, probably I kept some policies. Okay. Let me delete it. Okay. Now this is what it is saying. While pushing to the remote repository, rejected master pushes to this branch are not more permitted. You must use pull request to update this. Because that was so now let's go and where is this? Where is this commit? Version control. Where is version control? Is it been added? No, right? It looks it's local actually. Team Explorer. Then sync. It is still there in the local, not on the server. You can see here. Now push it. Done. I removed the policies. Now I'm able to check in my code. Now let's go to our branches. I'm already there. Master branch. And then yeah, I have the database DevOps demo. Let me check if scripts are there. Yeah, I have my script here. This is the one I have. Just everything is empty. Post deployment and pre-deployment is empty. And then I have my schema as well. That schema contains only one table. Okay, but when we are doing the build and deployment, right, uses the folder a script under migration. So for each and every migration that you do, right, you will have a different script generated here. And this convention, right, zero, all these convention, it's automatic. You don't need to work. You don't even touch that one. Okay, anytime. Now let's go and create a build pipeline. Like we already have a build pipeline. We go and add another job to that one. Of course, as I told you, you can add another task to the existing job, or you can create a job. It's all about well organized things, and there is no restriction on that. Let's go to our pipelines, build pipeline. It started actually. I removed that policy, right? By the time I remove it's already got started. Okay, what I do, I'll go and cancel this one. I don't want to waste my time here. Cancel build. Okay, now let me go back to my build and then edit. What I do, probably I have a trigger here. Disable this continuous integration. Okay, and then go to the tasks. As I told you, we can go ahead and create we already added this agent job. You remember, right? Yesterday we added this agent job. If you guys you are not there, you know how to add this. Okay, then so I already have this agent job. Now I will go and add task to this one that is related to your SQL change automation from the. Okay, let's go and add task. Let me search with Redgate. So this is a Redgate change automation, and this is a build. Okay, add it. Can I keep it? Okay, that's okay. So now we have to mention the data because in your solution you have a number of projects, right? I don't want to use everything. I want to use only my database projects. Now you just go and browse for it. SQL change automation project. Just go and browse for it. And this is here database DevOps demo. And then this is my SQL course. Let's select it. If it is a C# project, it will be CS course, VB project, VB course. Okay, and display name you just keep it as is, no worries. And then under the operation, right, you will have a n number of things. The current operation, since I selected the build, right, it is a builder SQL change automation project. But you also have other things. But when I use it for release, it might change to some other one. But since it is only compilation or creating the artifacts, this is a builder SQL change automation project. Now, this basically gets stored as a NuGet package. Okay, So you can give some name. I mean, the way you are storing Maven package. So you can give any name. Basically, it will be stored in your Azure file as a NuGet package. And when you are doing the release pipeline, it will take it from there. Okay, and you can give any name. Of course, as part of your application development, you also have some naming conventions. You use the name as per your naming convention. Okay. Now, so to build any programming language, you need some utility, right? For .NET, you are using MSW. For Java, you are using Maven or whatever it is. And for Oracle, you use Oracle Engine. For SQL, you use SQL. So since it is Azure DevOps, it is already recommending. So use a temporary server type because it has a execute somewhere, right? The way it creates a virtual machines in the background for your build pipeline. You will also create temporarily some SQL DB engine in the background and compile your scripts, and then it will create a NuGet package from that. Okay, you just leave it as it is. And then publish artifact. Of course, I need to publish the artifact, otherwise it will not be available for my release pipeline. That's all you need to do. And then this is always use the latest version of SQL change automation. Yeah, this is from the third party vendor, right? Until unless you have some any specific requirement and version, you don't need to go with the specific version. You can go with the latest version. And these are all regular things. You don't need to worry. And these are all common across all your tasks. Okay. Now what you do? Let's go and save. Shall I disable all the other tasks because it takes some time? I will disable other tasks. Okay. I will disable this Sonar stuff. Right click and disable. Okay, so that I can save some time. Save it. Okay, now let's go and now you see two jobs. Sonar Cube job. No, both are in the same solution. You can keep the different solution, but generally we want to deploy the database as well along with our code. But you can keep it in a different solution, then it will become a different pipeline. Because you cannot have a, because your pipeline is associated only with one repository. One repository contains only one solution. I mean, this is by design of Git. In most of the cases, what happens for the database deployments, right? The DBAs demand, I want this job separate. So then what happens? We create these jobs separately and give access only to the DBAs. It will not be to the developer. But if there are no such kind of organization issues, then you can keep it only as part of your issue.
Purnachandra, I have one question. Hello.
Correct.
Hello.
Yeah, that's right. In the we'll see what is that issue. Some issue is there. Let's go back to your. This is what you are asking. So to the same solution, I added a new project. So actually, you missed this class, right? You have to install an extension called SQL Redgate SQL Change Automation. Then you will get this new project. Then you can add a new project. Okay. Okay. Let me see if there is some issue here. Sonar Cube is failed. It is saying, okay. Okay. For database DevOps project, I mean, I added that agent, right? I went ahead and selected only my SQL course. But the other one, right? The first job, Sonar Cube job, I did not make any change. It contains the entire all the projects in the solution. You need to go and change. You have to say not all the projects in the solution, only my CS project. So that's what it is saying. The imported project, it is saying the targets were not found because that is using MS Build. MS Build cannot build your database project. That's what it is saying. You can basically see that exception when you do it. You also do the same thing, you will get an exception. Okay, okay. So we generally learn the same one. Sometimes it is good only because if I do it pre-configured, right, you will not get into all these issues. So everything will be great. So when you add this DB, the target. No, no, no. I just continuing with that. I did not make anything. That's why it is failed. Okay, anyways, the second one is failed, successful. Let's go to this job and change the SQL, I mean, that path actually. So let's go and edit the pipeline.
Hi,
.NET
Purna.
DevOps,
This is Manoj.
edit. Now,
Hello.
this is a build solution task. Okay. Now, what is there currently? Excellent. I mean, it is taking all the projects in the solution. Let's go and use only the project. Okay. Basically, it will be in disable mode. Okay.
Hi,
Let's go
Purna.
and unlink this. Then you will be able to browse. Okay. Now, I don't even use a test because the test will be part of your test case. Okay. Now, what I need is my .NET DevOps demo, and this is CS course. That's it. That's a miss what we done. Let's go and save it. Now queue it again. It works now. When we release this database, it is directly we have created. We created the databases. Basically, we don't create. It will be already available. But for demonstration, we just created. So now we have only scripts in the dev database. Our aim is to deploy that script in the dev to the QA database. So right now we have done only the compilation. That means we created the artifacts. We haven't gone to the phase of deployment. That is the CD pipeline, continuous deployment. For continuous deployment, we use the other one, releases. Right now we are using builds. We will be using the releases. That's where you deploy all the artifacts that are generated from your build pipeline in different servers. And we deploy it directly from yes, yes, yeah. So if you are deploying your code, it will go to some server. If you are deploying your script, it will directly go to the SQL database. So let it finish, then we can get into the. I did a code in SQL. That's a database. DB guys. Those are the DB guys. See, in front of you, I'm doing everything because I don't have a team to do it, right? I have to prepare and I have to demonstrate. But in the real time, you are not writing code, you are not writing a database scripts. So we have different teams, right? Everybody has their own responsibility. Your responsibility, you set up the platform and you do the creation of your CI/CD pipeline and giving access to the people or restricting access to the people and generating the reports or configuring the notification. This is your responsibility. If this issue occurred, okay, this is it. This issue occurred is because of my configuration, so I will go and fix it. Let us say your build is failed because of some code, then you will not fix it. You will take the logs and give it to your, I mean, whether it is a DB, then DB guys, if it is application, then application log. Okay, my build is successful, and you go to the artifacts and you see the artifacts here. This is what it's created. So we given this name database DevOps demo. It's a NuGet package. Okay, and go here, finalize build. It has to show this one as well. Okay, we will check that later. Okay. Okay, I think I did not publish the other article. Okay, that's why we're showing only database. But okay, we will, anyways, we will not use this now for the deployment. When we use the CD pipeline, I have to use these artifacts in the CD pipeline using Azure releases. Okay, so let's keep it aside, this CI part. Now we are done with the CI. Okay, what's the next part? So now you know the code CI pipeline and as well as database CI pipeline. And as part of CI, you know how to configure Sonarchy for the code quality analysis and also code quality gates. Okay, and based on your criteria, it will fail or success your builds. Okay, this is the end-to-end CI, and you also see how to enable continuous. That is just a checkbox. Enable continuous integration. For each commit, it will done it. And before that, we also seen the pull request strategy. So he covered all these areas like project, requirements management, and then reports, code management, and then automated things. Okay, with the code quality, which is just one approach. The next part is, let me open this. Okay, not this. Just give me a second, guys. Let me open. Okay. So now we're done with till automated builds, which is nothing but your continuous integration in general language. And in Azure DevOps language, it is a Azure build pipeline. Okay. Now the next step is continuous deployment or continuous delivery. Okay, there is a small difference between continuous deployment and continuous delivery. Both are not same. Okay. Continuous deployment means you have a different environments, let us say QA, UAT, pre-production, production. There can be a number of environments. When you are having continuous deployments in place, there won't be any approval mechanisms required. Everything is automated. So as soon as you click on release, it will build, it will do the functional testing or whatever it is, all the security vulnerable testing and everything, whatever is configured, and it will go through all the environments, QA, UAT, and production. No one will stop that deployment to say, okay, let me verify this deployment before it goes to the production. So everything is seamless, no manual intervention. So that's called the continuous deployment. There is another term called continuous delivery. Continuous delivery means till the UAT, I mean, before the production, till pre-production, you can make it continuous deployments. But to move to the production, you need to stop it. Okay, that's where we define some approvals. The people will the flow will be stopped, and the people will log into the portal, and they do some checks. They want to do some checks and verify some statuses or some external systems. It's all manual. Once they are happy, then they will say approve. Then it will go to the production environment. So this is called continuous delivery. So there is a difference between continuous deployment and delivery. When you say continuous deployment, no approvals, everything is automated. Verification, validation, deployment, everything is automated. That means they are on the peak side. They have everything is perfect. And these continuous deployments mostly happens for the product companies like Amazon, Google, all these guys, because they do thousands and thousands of deployments a day. If someone has to verify it, they can't do it. So what they do, they have the automation to the peak. Whatever they write, right? They have some automation script or testing that validates their development. But other environments, there will be always an approval to move to the production. So that's where, so that's the difference between people say it's CD, but continuous deployment and continuous delivery. The small difference. Before the production, we will have some manual approval. Manual means somebody has to log into the portal or click on the link to say yes. It's not manual means it's not just a phone person. Okay. So you have a gate there. So you remember the difference: continuous deployment and continuous delivery. So so now how we do these continuous deployments or delivery. So moving forward, I would say continuous deployment only. So that's how we used to, or you say CD. Okay. So we use a Azure release pipelines. We have those options, right? Build and releases. Now we will be using releases feature to do the continuous deployment. So what we will be doing here, so most of the time, 70-80% of the applications will be running on the web servers, be it an IaaS or Tomcat or whatever it is, right? And some other 30-40% will be running on the PaaS side. That is, if it is Azure, it will be Azure App Service. Okay, so you deploy your code to the Azure App Service. Deploying code to Azure App Service is a cakewalk because you don't need to worry. All you do is the way you created SQL database, somebody creates app service on the Azure cloud. Some Azure cloud administrator will create. They will give you the credentials, and you simply use that in your release pipeline. We will show that. Okay, that's very easy. So the little critical part or typical part is regular deployments. Okay, deploying to your web servers, be it IaaS or Tomcat. Since I'm from the Microsoft background, I will be showing the uh, IaaS stuff. And for Java also, what we do, instead of deploying on some Tomcat server, I use Azure App Service. Okay, this Java stuff we will take it at the end of the sessions. Okay, first let me complete this thing, and we will show you take one Java app based on some Maven or something, and then create an app service in the Azure cloud, and then deploy this to that Azure app service. That is nothing but invisible virtual machine. So you are not responsible for creating the virtual machine. In the background, it runs on some virtual machine. You only need to create an entry there, and then this code will be deployed there. You don't need to configure any IaaS or Tomcat there. Everything is pre-configured. Okay. So before we do this release pipeline, we will see. Because some people are now new to the programming, so I will show for 10-15 minutes how we do it manually. Let us say we build the code from the Visual Studio and take the artifacts like DLLs, HTML, and everything, and then we go to the IaaS, create some virtual directory and an application, you call it, and then copy this content there, and then make the application available. You can browse it. It takes 10-15 minutes. We will show it quickly, and then we will move it to the release pipelines. So this is what you see. So as part of this pipelines, right? So there are a number of concepts to be learned. There is deployment groups, and then we create a pipelines, and then the way we created some tasks in the build pipeline, right? The same way we do that in the release pipeline as well. It varies for the application to application, and there are scenarios as well what we need to discuss. See, configuration is always easy because you have the documentation, and this is all wizard based. If something you make a mistake, then it will anyways warn you. But scenarios is what you don't know. Okay. So we will do all these things in detail, and then we just talked about continuous deployment at delivery. Right? We also configure automated flows. So let us say we think that you have a dev QA production environment. Especially we take more than one. We'll take two environments, and then we create that automated flows using your build pipeline and then release pipeline. Probably what we can do at end of this CD release, I probably simply check in something from my Visual Studio, and which will trigger the build and release pipeline. And finally, yeah, the code, I mean, the application is available for you. Okay. So we'll not get into the Selenium testing because let's finish this basic must and should build pipeline, and then we can get into the Selenium. What I do, I'll create some Selenium test cases myself, and then integrate those Selenium test cases with the release pipeline. So you are covering the automation, functional testing, suite integration with CD pipelines. Okay. Yes, that's it from today. From any questions?
Purna, are you
Any?
able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear it now. Please tell me.
I have one question. See, in the SQL you showed, right? So in that you create the SQL project and the database, everything you created, right? So
Right.
from the code, from the .NET SQL project. So for already existing databases, if I want to do these things, how we can perform those things?
Yeah. So if you remember when we create the database project, right? It gave me one pop-up where I selected a source and target, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you join yesterday? You joined, right? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
So for existing projects, see, it's a reality. In reality, you already have the all the databases, Dev, QA, production. Okay. So
Actually, it's not database. It means database project is not there as of now. Database is there in SQL or SQL.
exactly, exactly.
How we
Yeah, that's right.
traditionally.
I didn't get your question exactly. Can you come
No,
again?
no. So we have traditional database that is there in SQL. For
Correct.
that, SQL project is not there for that. So if I
Correct.
want to do that thing with CI, how I can perform that thing?
Yeah. So what I done was, I mean, if you remember, I went to my solution and added a new database project, right? Okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And when I selected, let me go and add it. I will not check in our save. Okay. And this is the project that we selected, right? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And then next, right? And then you give some name and then create.
Mhm.
So now it will ask me to select the source and target database, right? When you
Yes.
say get started. So that's it. You already have the databases. You can just use the existing database here. You specify the connections here.
Okay. Okay.
So,
But
I did not know the databases in advance, so I created in front of you yesterday. But if you already have it, you don't create. You just use it as it is.
okay. And one more question. We have SSIS packages deployed in our SQL. So that can be doable with CI and CD?
Yes, even SSS packages can also be, see, you can do almost everything using Azure DevOps. Okay, so I can give you some hints, but SSIS project is not a candidate for the CI. It is a candidate for the CD directly because you can directly take the SSIS packages and you can deploy to the SSIS engine on your database. So it's a release pipeline mode.
Okay.
I can give
For
you, I
that
mean,
build is, but for that SSIS package, we can develop in SQL data tools, right? So that can be built in that from that, right? So similar thing, CD is there for that.
correct. So you are not going to use this SQL change automation project for your SSIS package because that is a ETL. What we are
Uh,
doing is what we are doing is a traditional database development. Your ETL is different, your reporting, your SSRS reports are different, your SSAS packages are different, your SSAS cubes are different. So you have to use a different ways to do the CI/CD for it. Okay.
Okay, and one last question.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
we are using a reporting server. So,
Right.
for example, if my reporting server configured in individual VM,
Mm-hmm.
okay, traditional VM. So,
Okay.
in from my code, I am using that web service URL for create the subscriptions and templates. Okay,
Okay.
so
Mm-hmm.
that application hosted in Azure cloud
Mm-hmm.
uh, using CI/CD. So, is it work?
CI/CD is nothing to do with your report integration with your application, right? It doesn't matter where it is hosted or something. You are not concerned. But end of the day, your SSRS reports should be working. I mean, should be working with your application wherever it is. I did not get that question exactly. You want to deploy the SSRS reports using this DevOps? Is that what your question? I'm not getting that.
Maybe it's not related to DevOps. Generally, I'm
Uh,
asking. Yeah.
Yeah, it should work. They should see if your reports are not able to connect your application, that means it is mostly related to your firewall settings because
Okay.
you deployed your application in some virtual machine and your report server is in some other virtual machine. If there is no firewall ports open between those two virtual machines, then obviously they cannot connect.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, guys, I'm on leave tomorrow. I have some personal leave. We'll catch up again on Monday. So, in the same way, we will spend additional 10-15 minutes. Okay. So, I will cover the way we are spending another 20-30 minutes, right? I will spend on Monday and Tuesday, and then we'll cover that one. Okay. Friday. Tomorrow is Friday. It's already Thursday. Okay. So, I have some personal needs, so I have to travel.
Hi Purna, this is Manoj.
Yes, Manoj.
So in the beginning of this class, actually I unable to listen your voice because it is gradually coming down and coming up, going down and coming up. So initially
Is it
I think
is it the
I
case with
told
everyone? Guys, on the call, please let me know if you are able to listen to me clearly from starting.
Purna, we had a problem with listening to your voice in the beginning and later on we could able to.
In the beginning,
so. If it is beginning means we are unable to understand anything. So in the middle,
So,
that is
oh,
once you
issue today.
started the topic,
okay.
we could able to understand it in the middle of the topic only. But in the beginning part, we haven't. I just
Guys,
completely.
always do one thing. Whenever there is a communication issue, right? You can unmute yourself and raise your voice because I will be keeping this window, hidden. Otherwise, I cannot see my entire screen. Okay, so I may not be able to respond to the chat here. But anyways, you have the recorded videos, right? Otherwise, if you still want to talk to me, if you miss something as part of this database project, you can ask the management. They can patch me with you over phone. 2 minutes. Is it the same problem with everyone? I can see Rakesh is having problem and Manoj is also having problem. What about other folks on the call?
If you don't
Uh,
mind, please repeat this session on the next session also. If you don't, if time permits.
Yes,
Manoj,
just,
I mean, what I
we need
request
that
is,
introduction.
So initially we unable to catch up your voice.
okay,
And
so Okay, let me tell you, for the first 10 minutes, I repeated the same thing what I explained yesterday. The same, following the same process, refreshing that screen, I mean, the window, and then import and generate the scripts for the first 10-15 minutes. And then only I talked about the newer things. So what I suggest you, you can go and watch the video. Okay, if you still cannot make it out, okay, after whatever I done, it is clearly be visible in the or audible in the video. If you still have the problem, you can talk to me in person. I can patch you with me over phone. Okay.
When these kind of discussion can they happen? I mean, after the class or before the class?
It should be out of the class, and if you really, you guys again wanted have this session, I can take it at the end of the release pipeline. Is that okay?
After the release pipeline means like after the complete okay, after the completion of the second part also, then only you are going to repeat this class, right? That is what you are going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Because it's only build. We did not make any changes because I was doing some manual things and then I repeated. So we will repeat it. That's okay after the release pipeline. But I would request you guys to have a look at the video as well. So let me know if that doesn't help. But we certainly make it a repeat. Okay.
Okay, Papa. Thank you.
Okay. So guys, did you listen? You listen to me, right? Tomorrow there is no class. I have some personal need. I am traveling. So we'll cover this one and another 20-30 minutes each day and Monday and Tuesday, and I will compensate this.
So actually, here my doubt is without using SQL auto this changes, so can't we directly deploy some scripts and can't we create tables and databases? What
Oh,
exactly this
Manoj,
SQL?
you missed. I think you missed it. Before we start
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
before we started this SQL change automation, I given basics how a traditional deployment happens. You create scripts and you generate the scripts and give it to the people, and those DPAs will basically deploy them manually. We already covered it before this automation. I talked about the manual activities, the traditional way of deployment, and then only I got into this automation.
Okay, okay. Yesterday it was okay. So today only the voice problem came. Okay.
I think that could be the internet issue because otherwise I am always near to my laptop only. Okay. Thank you guys. We'll see you on Monday again. We'll cover, don't worry, we'll cover this one again. But I would request you go through the video again. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.